Last week, I received a pretty distressing message from one of our community members. They had 2 virtual assistants who both in the space of 2 weeks just disappeared, refused to answer messages, didn't get in touch, and this person had absolutely no idea what had happened. Now, this is a successful business owner with many years of experience, and it showed me how good she was by the question that she asked me next. I want to jump into the advice that I gave this person and about the steps you can take to minimize the chance of this type of thing happening, and also what to do to minimize the effects of when this type of thing does happen. Because it doesn't matter where we live in the world and where we hire people from, people will come and go. There's things we can do before people arrive, while they're there, and after they've gone to minimize the impact on us as a business and also our personal feelings behind it as well. So listen into the entire episode, as this is going to be packed full of useful, implementable advice. And remember to hit subscribe, because we've got some amazing content related to this subject coming up over the next few weeks. So the question is this: how do entrepreneurs like us, who don't have an endless supply of cash, how do we leverage the best apps, virtual assistants, automation tools, and systems to scale our businesses, increase our profits, and have more time to do what we love to do each day? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name's Dr. Steve Day, and this is Systemize Your Success. So this community member sent me a message to say, sadly, 2 of her staff had left within the space of a couple of weeks. They'd not given any notice, and they'd basically not been back in touch. And that is incredibly hard and distressing to go through. I've actually been there in the past, and it's something that really hits your heart. It's like, what did you do wrong? Like, how could you have done things differently? And that is the question that she asked me, my client asked me, that showed me that she is an absolute brilliant business leader. Her question was, what can I do next time to make sure this minimizes the chance of this happening again? Rather than putting blame on either herself or actually on the person, is actually thinking forward. How can I actually improve the chances of a better outcome next time? And this coincided with one of our monthly mastermind sessions. So she jumped on that session. I spent the whole time just basically talking through some of the top tips I've learned over the years, working with over 250 clients, of hiring a couple of hundred virtual assistants ourselves, both for us and other people, and working with dozens and dozens of people from all over the world. Yep, we've lost people along the way. Yep, some of them have disappeared. But actually, it doesn't matter to me where somebody's from. People will either stay in your business or they will go. There's so many reasons that people will leave your business that are totally out of your control. But what we want to try and do is nurture a relationship with those people. So at least they have the courtesy to let us know, that we actually have some trust with them, that we believe they will inform us if something's not going right. We can actually have opportunities to spot when things may be becoming stressful or not working out for them, and actually put things in place to try to minimize the chances people leave. It could be for a reason totally out of our control, and that's happened to me in the past as well. But sometimes actually we can put things in place, and we can actually help people through difficult times to actually reinforce the trust we have for them, to build even more loyalty if we give them an opportunity to actually talk to us about their personal life and actually build more than just a transactional relationship. And that's what I want to talk about today. How do you actually build those relationships in such a way that actually, even if somebody's working on the other side of the world, who may be from a different culture, that you actually start creating a relationship with that person. You become more than just business owner and employee, that you actually start building something together and actually have a mutual respect and trust for each other. So the key advice I gave my client was, first of all, when you go through a hiring process, make sure that you are actually hiring based on values. Make sure during the process of application and testing and interview, you're digging into sort of what makes that person tick. Do you actually align when it comes to the core values that that person has? Do they have the right worth ethic? Do they actually have the right moral values? Are they actually in line with the way that you want to run your business? Knowing that up front can save a lot of headache down the line. Once you then hire that person or find that values matched person, then onboarding them professionally sets the tone for the rest of their working time with you. So if they actually come into your business and you've actually thought about, what they need to do their work up front, they arrive on day one with everything set up, that just sets the tone to actually go forward in a professional way. And it'll make them actually want to stay with you longer because you've actually shown them you are a professional place you want to work. And again, that just sets the tone for everything going forward. Then when you invest into that person, you provide them with training, you provide them with support, and you provide them with the chance for them to grow into the role that or develop into a role that they actually is deserving of their intelligence and their enthusiasm and their motivation. Again, you're actually building trust, you're building loyalty, because you're giving that person an opportunity to shine and become the best version of the person they can be. And that is what people want. They want to feel good about what they do, about the work they do, about how much good they're doing in the world, about the impact they're making. And employees and business owners, whatever, we're all the same. We just want to actually feel like we're making a difference. So when we give people the opportunity to do that, it can make them more loyal to us as a business. So that's all good. And that's the sort of the mechanical things you can do, the things you can actually put in place to make sure that they have the best chance of actually feeling like they're rewarded in their role, that they're in the right place, etc., etc. But how about building that trust? How about building that relationship? What are the key things we can do as business owners or managers to totally transform it from being a simple transactional relationship where they turn up, they do the work, they go home, they get paid, that's it, to one where actually people are invested emotionally in your business, emotionally into you as their manager or the business owner, that they actually have, or you have, a mutual respect for each other. Those are the things that actually make people, I believe, either stick around for longer when things get tough, or when you have a bad day and you take it out on your staff or whatever it is, or you have a bad week or even a bad month. If people know, like, and trust you, and they've built up some reserve or a battery of trust, then you can actually go through some bad patches and still recover. However, if you're always just tiptoeing around, you're never really saying what you think or giving the opportunity for people to speak up or actually have an opinion or actually make an impact on the business decisions or even get to know their other colleagues, if you're not doing those things, then when things go bad, then people can just disappear and just hide away. And when you're working with remote workers, there's no need for them to actually hand in their notice, so to speak, like when you're working with an employee. It's one of the challenges you can get when you're working with contractors and freelancers is there's no obligation for them to actually continue working with you for any period. That's the nature of the contract or nature of the engagement you have with them typically. So if they just disappear and refuse to answer their messages, there's not a lot you can do. And so that can feel quite scary. So we want to actually put things in place to minimize that. So one of the key things that we do is to start doing one-to-ones from day one. So the first day someone starts working with us, whether we're hiring them from the Philippines or India or South Africa or wherever, the first day that they start working with us, we have a one-to-one. I, as a business owner, because I have a micro business, I will do that meeting myself. If you're a bigger business and you have teams and managers, you may actually have somebody else doing it for you. But if you're a small business owner, you've got less than 50 employees and you're growing, I recommend doing it yourself because it just sets the tone that you, as the business owner, care about your staff. You want to get to know your people. And for me, as I said, as a tiny micro business owner, it's absolutely my responsibility, I believe, to do that. So day one, I get to meet them, I get to introduce myself. I probably met them through the interview process anyway, just to actually welcome them to the business, share about my story if I haven't already done that on the interview, share about my values, my mission, my vision, learn about them, find out a bit about what makes them tick, learn about maybe their hobbies, and just get to actually start in that friendly relationship and obviously just welcome them to the team. But the next important thing is to don't let that momentum drop. So book in your next one-to-one the following week. I talked specifically about the structure of one-to-one meetings in other podcasts. So we have a strict agenda. We have 10 minutes for them, 10 minutes for me, 10 minutes for the future. And that way you're giving that person time at the beginning of the meeting to talk about whatever they want to talk about first. That shows them that you care. You're giving them time, not on your agenda. You're not bringing them work. You're not even asking them to talk about work. The majority of the time, they will talk about work. But that 10 minutes, after you've done it for a few weeks, you'll start finding they'll actually start chipping in with things that maybe they're stressed out at work. Maybe there's some of the tasks you give them are a bit more challenging. Maybe something's going on at home that's affecting their work. You'll learn about their family. You'll learn about the highs and lows of their relationships. You'll learn about their parents and their illnesses. You'll learn about what makes them tick, what makes them happy in work, what makes them stressed at work. That 10 minutes is one of the most valuable times I believe I spend with my staff on a weekly basis. And that is the key, I believe. If you did nothing else but just that gives you that opportunity to build a trusting relationship, to start getting to know people on a different level. And it gives them the opportunity to start talking about the stuff that you would otherwise never know about. So if you give them that opportunity, and the chances are you'll actually start seeing a pattern. You start seeing things going wrong maybe, and be able to actually come in and ask some hard questions to find out about what is going on before it gets to the point where they just switch off and disappear. So that's their 10 minutes of that meeting. Now in the next 10 minutes, this is a great opportunity for you to give feedback. And if you ask your staff what's the one thing they wish you did more of, I bet you most of them would say, get more constructive feedback. Learn, how am I doing? Am I doing well? Am I doing badly? What could I improve? How could I be better? That's what most good employees want to hear. They want to actually improve. They want to know that they are actually making a difference. They want to know that their jobs are safe as well. They want to feel security. So if you're actually telling them, how they're performing and also working with them to improve, that shows them that you're investing in them, that you want them to stick around, you want them to get better. And so giving them specific feedback is a brilliant way to do that. I talked again about the feedback model in other episodes, but really simply, it's about asking them permission to give feedback and then giving them the feedback in the present tense, telling them how that action that they have done or the behavior that they've displayed, how that actually, the effect that has or the outcome that has, and then what you want them to do about it. So we do it in the context of like, when you do this, it has this effect, how can you change that? And doing it in the present tense means that people can't defend it. So instead of saying like, when you were late for that meeting last week, it was a real stress and you messed up everything, you say when you are late for meetings. Because you can't defend the statement when you are late, but you can defend the statement when you were late, because they can say, oh yeah, the bus was late, or my dog ate my homework, or whatever it was. So being really careful about the words you use when you give feedback has a huge impact on how that is received by the other person and how, more importantly, it affects future behavior, which is the ultimate outcome of effective feedback. The next thing, and this is one of the key things that we talked about with this client, is about what I call the daily stand-up. And this is a team meeting. And for me, it's everybody in the company because I'm a micro business owner. You, if you're a bigger company, may have departments and you may split things up a bit. But for me, without less than 10 employees, I'll say get everybody in the same room and have a daily stand-up together. That daily stand-up is about what am I going to do today? What challenges I've got? What help do I need? That is an opportunity for everybody in the business to see each other, to learn what people are going through, the challenge they've got, they learn how they're overcoming those challenges. They get people together to connect. And this is so important when you're working with remote teams, because people can sit in silos. They literally sit in their office or their home office or in their bedroom or whatever it is. They'll sit there for 8 hours a day on their computer, not talking to anybody. How often do you phone up your virtual assistants and just have a chat? Whereas if you worked in an office, people will be bumping into each other at the water cooler, for example, or going to the cafe together. But when you're working in isolation, it's really lonely. So those few minutes of getting together each day and just seeing each other's faces, having a little giggle sometimes, sometimes having a laugh about something, or just actually just seeing people, it's a super nice way for people to actually start building trust between themselves as well. And again, really importantly, try to get people, especially if you're working remotely, try to get people to work together on things. So if you have a particular project and you can see an opportunity to get two people to actually cooperate together on it, it's a brilliant way for them to start building a trusting relationship together. Even if you just get them to review each other's work, to actually go and sense check stuff before they hand it to you. Anything you can do to get them to work independently together without you, as in independently without you, but working together so they're doing something that when you as the business owner or the manager aren't involved, it lets them start having conversations as peers and not just always as employees below a manager. They can actually start just talking and they can actually start building relationship because their level, they're below you as the management in terms of the hierarchy of the business. So you always have the ability to hire or fire them or to fire them. So you have their job, in your hand, and therefore you have power over them. That's what I mean by the lower and higher. And so the relationship they have with you will always be different than the relationship they have with each other when they are not a threat to each other in terms of, what they say to each other. It's not going to fire each other, for example. And so it's super important, in my opinion, to try to connect your remote team members together to work, to start building a relationship between each other. And the proof of this, in my opinion, comes from when you actually ask people, what do you love about this company? What do you love about working here? And this was a question that I asked in our last annual meeting where we got together and we're just basically celebrating all the wins of the year, looking at how far we've come. And I didn't actually ask specifically what do you love about working here. I think I was talking about what are your best experiences of the year. I can't remember exactly the wording I used. And every single person in the team at the time, and I think we had 4 people I remember at the time, and I remember distinctly, I was in tears at the end of this. Every single person talked about 2 things. One is they love working here and they enjoyed the work they were given, the challenge, etc. The second one, and the important one, the one they really emphasised, was the team. They all loved the team. They came to work to support each other. They said they were like, they made an effort to come even when they were feeling unwell because they didn't want to let each other down. And that is priceless. It's gold. Like, you can't buy that. You can't install that into people, but we can facilitate it. We can give people opportunities to build those relationships so they feel an obligation to actually turn up, that they feel a responsibility not to let their teammates down, because they're always actually going to have, I believe, more of a responsibility to each other because of the nature of your relationship as a boss than to you, because you, as I said before, will always hold that power to be able to actually sack somebody. Therefore, there's a different relationship. So that's what I believe, that actually giving people the opportunity to build trusting relationships between each other is a powerful incentive for them to actually stick around their business and not do things like disappear. Those are the key things that I've learned over the years have made the biggest difference to building a loyal and trusting team, one that actually sticks around, that goes above and beyond, that turns up even when they're not feeling so well, that doesn't, just call in sick for no reason, that you always can rely on to actually be there. It's not just about the work that you do with them, it's actually more about the environment you build for them to actually enjoy being at work. And that includes the relationship they have with you, through things like the one-to-one, giving feedback and the team meetings, for example, and the relationship they have with each other, again, through the team meetings, but also through work opportunities with their peers. If you can facilitate those things, I think you're miles ahead of people who just hire a virtual assistant or remote worker, delegate work to them, and let that person work in isolation. Just try to imagine that person is in your office, and how would you bring them into conversations, to meetings, to events, to socials, whatever. Try and figure out ways to give them a reason to get involved with your business at a different level. And then I believe you'll see them stick around for the long term and won't just disappear out the blue without warning. But sadly, people do leave for all sorts of reasons, as I mentioned before. So you should always, in my opinion, be thinking about how to protect your interests if they and when they do go. And to do that, we get into the whole world of systemization, how to capture their work, how to document it, and how to make sure that it's delegatable. So if someone's not available for whatever reason, they're off sick, they go on maternity or paternity leave, or they may just quit altogether, how do we seamlessly give that work to somebody else to do in their absence without it causing any big issues? And that is a subject of so many of the podcasts in this series. So please do hit subscribe if that's the kind of stuff you want to learn more about. So that's it. I hope you found this helpful. If you have, please do share this with your friends and colleagues, because I'm sure other people out there would also find this beneficial. Thanks for listening. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.